Yes, people, it's Jamiu, and I'm gonna show you a track breakdown of my most recent release, Slingshot, which came out on Stereo45 a few weeks ago. Big respect to the Stereo45 crew. So yeah, if you haven't heard Slingshot, this is what it sounds like. Yeah, so that's the gist of it. So yeah, it's a track based around tension and release, hence the name Slingshot. As you can hear by the wild vocals that kind of go up and down in pitch and like release on the drop, and the little 32 bar section where it just goes into a bit of arpeggiated synth madness. I made it in lockdown, so some of the things I do here are a little bit dated and I don't do anymore, but it's a cool snapshot of the time it was made in, and hopefully you pick up something that you can use in your own productions, or you can be like, this is fucking shit, mate, you're shit, and you can tell me to fuck off, and I'll tell you to fuck off because I don't really care. So going into some of the FM stuff that I've got on the intro, those kind of dark rises, that's basically just operator, and I've got 3 oscillators here. One simple sine wave, a sine wave that's kind of like modulated in pitch in the fine tuning, which creates some of that wobble kind of sound that you can kind of hear. You can kind of hear it here. Yeah, and that kind of just goes up with the intro, and this one is very similar, and it just goes down in pitch a lot of the time, and then I've got a higher pitch one up here. And that just rises up towards the end, basically. So that's them, and I've just got some reverbs on them, and some EQ with some mid-side EQ on them as well, just because they're a little bit wide, and I want to make sure that my tune is mono compatible. So it's good to have a little bit of a stereo EQ and just manipulate that a little bit, just so that, I mean, tracks and systems used to be in mono. Systems used to be in mono back in the day. So when you make tunes, you kind of have to make sure that it sounds similar. It sounds exactly the same even on whatever system you're playing it back on. So it's just good practice to get into. Clubs nowadays are kind of in stereo anyway, so some people think it's redundant, but I like to obsess about it because that's what I'm like. But yeah, so we've got some kicks in this intro as well. That little delayed kick sound, and yeah, this is just a couple of kicks. One pitched up 29 semitones, one pitched up by 5, just to get it in tune with the track. And they've both got a H delay on them, just at a 16th note, and some reverb. This is actually in an audio effect rack with 2 channels, so this is essentially parallel processing. So I've got a dry that just like maintains the integrity of the normal sound, and then the wet, which is just all my effects. So just so this it's nice and thick. So yeah, that's that. And then I've got this Dope Bass named thing, which is just an Omnisphere patch. Club Laser Sweepers, really cool names they got for these patches. Yeah, just a saw and a square, but the gist of it kind of is with the modulation I've got with the filters. Got a high pass and a low pass here. High pass is just rising and just moving, and the low pass is doing the opposite but just moving in different ways. And I've got another one here as well for some reason, but yeah, that one's a bit more resonant. I think that's why I've put that on there. But yeah, it's all about movement for me. It's all about modulating stuff just so that you can kind of keep things quite loopy, keep things quite the same so people get it, but just making sure that you're just stimulating the ears of everyone listening just to make it not a boring track. And then it kind of just reverbs out towards the end, as you can see with this little bit of modulation I got here. Yeah, so with the drums I've got quite a few layers of snare just to give it some body. I've got this clap as well because I just wanted two different kind of snare / clap sounds just to kind of make it more interesting. I didn't want to make a boom cat drum and bass tune. As you can hear, the drums are like, with the snare and the clap just on alternating 2 and 4s. It's even 2 and 4. Yeah, it's like 2 and fucking 2.3, and then 1 and 3, 1 and 4 as well. So with these, I've just got a snare. This is the main snare / rim shot. Why did I just mute? What the fuck? That's the main sound you can hear, but it's got like a higher one and then a lower one here. So yeah, they just like help the snare stand out in the mix, or rim shot, whatever we want to call it. And then these claps, funky drummer. This one's not actually being used, so ignore that. And this one, it's a lovely little clap. I think I got that one from Sim, so big up yourself. And yeah, this kick situation, what we got going on here? Yeah, so the most prominent thing here is a 909 kick. I swear by this kick. I use it in pretty much every tune. But just to give it a little bit of accent, I've got... Yeah, so you can just hear how those two just give a different kind of feel. And then it just gives it a bit more weight in the top end when you've got this this Pee-wee kick that I made a long time ago. But I've just boosted that like hell at the bottom. Widened it a little bit. This is the Pee-wee kick we're talking about. And yeah, some crazy EQ with some dip in the side just to make it a little bit more mono compatible. And then on the 99, just a bit of EQ in the roll up, 40 hertz. But I feel like what makes this track distinct is the ghost kicks that I've got going on here. So this is the Pee-wee kick. I think I like I say, I made this quite a while ago, but I think I've just turned this one down and just given it absolutely no tail, just so that it kind of fits in the mix as like a ghost kick and just helps the rhythm of things just move along. You just don't want a really long tail because it can just tend up to muddy up the mix a little bit and make things a little bit more cloudy, which you really don't want in 174 music. And this Pookie break, it's a kick with like a little bit of a snare on the top end as well, just give it a bit more movement. And then together they sound like, if I can click them all together, so when you listen to all the drums together, yeah, and then we've got this little Pookie break, which is like the other bit of this. So yeah, it just helps to help the groove along with the tune. And then yeah, I've got these pretty standard breaks from the Loop Masters pack, if you can tell by the naming of it. I think this one was from Breakage, and this one from Lensman. Just stuff that just helps the track groove, you know. And I think I was just looking for the easiest way to get some breaks in my tunes back then. So yeah, it's a bit more drum and bassy than anything else. So what they sound like when they're all together. Processing wise, I've done little bits here and there to these sounds, just some saturation, light saturation here. On that was the James Brown, a little bit of the clap, and I don't really think what I've done here is that important. Just a tiny bit of saturation, a little bit of widening, some EQ, some transient shaping here that you'll see throughout my tracks. Yeah, that transient shaping just makes things pop. So if you want your transients to be really sharp, you can push out there. If you want to shorten the length of them and make them a little bit more stabby, you can do that too. It's good to use it sparingly, but I'm pretty sure I've used it on like most of the tracks I've got here. But on the actual buses, just some more EQ, light compression, and yeah, what have we got on the actual group? Yeah, some more parallel effects on here. Yeah, just to keep the integrity of the initial sounds that I've got in my drums. So this is a dry, so everything that you've got here is just as it is, and then this kind of adds some reverb and yeah, a little bit of EQ just to kind of make up for where I thought it was lacking in my little mixdown. Some more transient shaping with Panks here, just on 0.11, which isn't a lot. I'm just trying to use things sparingly. And then as I come down to the vocal. So yeah, as you can kind of tell, I'm sample snitching on myself. If you follow my stories, I would have probably made a little reference to that. But as it is Slingshot, Tension and Release, what I've done is taken the sample from that Kendrick Lamar tune, and I've just pitched it and messed around with the pitch envelope. So it just comes down in pitch. And that over here. Yeah, just play around with filter envelopes and pitch envelopes and just general automation. Get as much movement as you can in the tunes, basically. That's how I made that. And I'll fully snitch on myself right now and show you where I got this number from. We like fast cars. So yeah, as you can tell, I've already pitched that even before it got to this stage, but I was just bouncing stuff down just to like save on CPU stress. But on that sound, yeah, we just got H delay, just done it by milliseconds, just to the sound where I thought it sounded right. This pitch shifter, like I said again, just modulating the ratio of that. It's got some reverb that's modulated towards the second drop on a little breakdown where it goes into the little synth arpeggiated madness bit. And then we've got a bit of a widening that by 114%, and then controlling that with the stereo width so that we've got a wide sound, but it's not so wide that it sounds completely different on different systems that you might want to play it on. Yeah, that's the general gist of like the vocal, and then the vocal comes in again in chops. So I've got the vocal coming in here. Yeah, and that just like does its thing. Like, I think it's really important to just have a handful of sounds that you use and then just like repurpose them in whatever way you think is right for you creatively. As the track goes down, it just helps things to be more cohesive. I used to spend a lot of time making like 100 track tunes and having nightmare mixing them down, and they just sound a little bit disjointed, and I could have probably split all of those sounds into like 3 different tunes. But these days, I mean, this track is like 50 channels almost, but these days my tracks are probably like 30, 35. It just helps you knock out tunes faster, easier to mix down, and everyone likes them because you just want a nice motif, and then yeah, people get it easier. Alright, before I waffle along too much, what else can we have a little look at? We've got some synth sounds, yeah, especially the synth sounds that kind of come in at the 32 bar, the shot of the sling as it were. This was a patch from Omnisphere. I think, yeah, it says dope bass, so it must have been that same dope bass again. But this is an arpeggiated lead, and what I did was I got two of the same sounds, one arpeggiating at like, I think it was like a 16th note, and the other one arpeggiating at like, I think it was a 16th triplet, and then made one 12 semitones below, and then just like grouped them together. So that's what this sound comes from. And then as it goes to the next phrase, so that's processing that I'd done before, group them all together because it was doing my head in to just look at loads of like 5 different channels. But then the final processing I've done, just some mid-side EQ with some boost in the middle, pull tech EQ, or Puig tech as we call it here, but it's basically boost stuff in the low end in a way that also saturates. So it just gives you like a nice tick juicy sound, which is what we like in this music. So this is 100 hertz. I boost that, the attenuating, there's like a little bit of distortion there adds as well. And that's the low end, and the high end is like a boost at 3000 hertz, and then attenuates at the same rate as well. So if stuff isn't kind of cutting through the mix, I'll tend to use that just to give things a little boost where need be. And that just helps to kind of like bring things out. I've got a Valhalla Supermassive, just a 13%, just to give you a little bit of like delay and a little bit of width. I use it across all of my tunes, I swear by Valhalla Supermassive. I think it was a free download. I'm not sure if it was a temporary free download at the time, but yeah, however you get your hands on that, I'd implore you to do so because it is sick. It's really like crystallizing, shiny delays. What else we got? Let's stick to the first drop. The bass, of course. So down here we've got the bass. A hell of a lot of modulation. Don't be scared. This is. I kind of went in with this one. Jesus Christ. This is a Vital bass, and the story behind this one was I swear by Operator, and I used to swear by Operator for basses and everything. Now I kind of use it sparingly because it wasn't really giving me the weight that I required from a bass. So this is the bass in Vital, and what I've done is I've just like keyed in the LFO wobbles that I need in here, and then just like map that to like the amount here of like phase and format. This is just a little effect that I've got on the basic shape of the sine wave. Just modulating all these little bits of highlight in green, and on the effects I've got just some overdrive, saturation, some multiband just pushing up the lows a bit, and a tiny bit of reverb that's just like EQ'd with all the lows out, so you get a nice breathy mid-range in this bass. That's that, and I've gone in with the process, probably too much, but what I wanted was a really earthy tone to the bass, because it was quite subby and siney before, and I just wanted some grit, but I didn't want the grit to be so harsh that it was in the top end. I just wanted it to just be controlled. So again, some more parallel effects here. So I've got Decapitator here adding a little bit of colour, so you've still got like the standard low, and then the top is. So it just adds a bit of flavour to the top without taking anything away, and together it's. So yeah, there's some movement happening in the fab filter. I'm just like automating the bands of the EQ, just to give it more movement basically. And yeah, we've got some bass warps, and this was from the original Operator patch that I had. So we've got. Yeah, so if you can imagine like a less processed version of that as like the main bass, that's what it was before. Yeah, got some filter modulation on this too. So this is just moving. It's just moving. All I wanted was movement, and I succeeded. So so got some saturation on here, smooth amp on the top, and yeah, that's the gist of the bass warps. So that's the gist of those bass. This is just a copy of that, just doing different stuff. And that's muted, don't worry about that. And this one, the liquid bass thing you can see here, it just reminded me of like an old Lensman Total Science type bass. That thing. So yeah, that's just a sine wave, 3 sine waves, and one of them is just fine tuned to like 140. So without it is, that's what it sounds like without it. And with, and I don't know why I've made 2. One says sub, one says mid, but they sound the same. That's just how I operate sometimes. So yeah, that's basically it. That's the main gist of the track. Stream it, download it, copy it, like leave comments wherever you can, do the whole thing. But yeah, thanks for listening to me waffle on. I will go into the second half, but it's copy and paste, you know how we do. And okay, one thing I will say actually was the silent sidechain. So up here I've got a silent snare and a silent kick, and these are just like, I don't think these are the exact same kicks as I had before, but they're in the same place. So what happens is, with the bass, the main bass that I had, I've kind of gone in, like you can see I've got like widers, EQs, Pultec EQs, some compression, and like I just kept adding to this like every time I opened a project and realized that it needed something else. So with the glue compressor, you can sidechain it to anything, and some people will just sidechain it to the kick, sidechain it to the snare, but what I do is I make a silent sidechain so it populates like the parts of the track where the drums actually aren't, just so that it sidechains stuff where drums aren't. But in this situation, it seems like I haven't even done that. So yeah, big up Stereo45 anyway. And yeah, like the whole track in the middle is just more modulation as we have from the start, but just elongated, just to kind of really bring up the build up of this second drop. And yeah, we've got some white noise that I got from Operator, because you can change the sine wave to white noise, and I think a glitch 2 on it, is it? And it's just the gator on glitch 2, so without it, it sounds like standard whoosh. This one's a bit more zappy and just gives a bit more texture to the track. And yeah, a couple more risers. I think this is the same thing. And then this riser jam as well. This is something I made a long time ago. Just some textures, but you can just see it moving. I've just modulated some of the high pass. Yeah, and that's the tune. That's Slingshot. Yo, copy it, download it, stream it, do whatever you want, play it. It's a head turner. If you drop it properly in that little 32 bar drop bit. Limbs. Alright, peace. Thanks for listening.